Hi, this is Kendra at Pencil and Pigment, and today I just wanted to keep working on an illustration I started yesterday for Smogist, which is a whale with dragon wings. Wouldn't that be terrifying? So I'm going to finish this with some of my polychromos colored pencils, and I'm trying to figure out a really good detailed eraser. I have this Faber-Castell and it's a sharpening eraser, and the pink is for soft erasing and the white is supposed to be for pen and ink, but I don't like the white end and I might need to try a Tombow. Anyway, I'll link the products I'm talking about, but I wanted to have a talk about something super polarizing because I think it's important, and that would be the topic of Inktober. So if you're not familiar with what Inktober is, that is an artist drawing challenge by Jake Parker, who is an artist, a writer, a teacher. He wears many hats, and he started that drawing challenge with the prompts back in 2009, and basically it's an artist drawing challenge where you create something every day in the month of October. Eventually he came out with prompt lists, and then he came out with merchandise, and then he came out with Inktober 52, which is a drawing challenge to do something once a week the entire year. He eventually signed on with the art subscription company Art Snacks to do a Inktober themed box for creators that wanted to purchase pens and things for the month of Inktober. I think this is important to talk about because it sets a precedence and it sets off a conversation that's interesting. So early on in Inktober, he had said that, Jake Parker, that Inktober was for pen and ink illustrations only. And a lot of people felt slighted by this and not included. A lot of people do digital art. A lot of people do pencil art. A lot of people wanted to participate but felt that he was kind of being very specific and they felt very excluded. And I'm not a fan of exclusion. I think we need more inclusion and more diversity in our art challenges. So right off the bat, people weren't pleased. And I mean, you could say people find things not to be pleased about everywhere, but this is the art community. If anything, we should be encouraging, not discouraging, because art is hard. They don't have the starving, artist trope for no reason. So that kind of was a kick in the face to some creators and artists, and that's a shame. So they moved on to other things and dropped interest. And in 2019, the end of some Twitter hashtag popped up in my trending feed about Inktober, and I said, oh, what's going on there? My first Inktober was in 2017. I did an Animals of Africa outlines and turned it into a coloring book that I self-published. In 2018, we were house shopping. I did little tiny sort of animal doodles that were a lot of fun. In 2019, I did snake illustrations, and I can link all those different sketchbook tours for each year I participated in it. October is definitely a really good month for a lot of people. It's before things get crazy in December, and it's sort of, if you have children, they're in school, so they're not home, which was one of the reasons that World Watercolor Month in July was so difficult in previous years for me. So yeah, in 2019, some small creators ended up getting cease and desist letters. And what happened was Jake Parker trademarked the Inktober. He trademarked it. So he trademarked the logo associated with it and the word. So people that had created illustrations during the challenge that had published sort of their own book of sketches that mentioned the word Inktober in the title or had the logo on it were now being served legal papers. And they felt blindsided. It came out of nowhere. There was no warning. There was no anything about it. And online, Jake Parker apologized that his lawyer was just being preemptive and jumped the gun a little bit, and that it wasn't that big of a deal. I will link to articles discussing it. I will link to Jake Parker's webpage because he definitely has a page on Trademark. So if you want to publish something from Inktober, you cannot use the logo without his permission. You can say what year it is with the word Inktober, but it has to be like a subtitle. It can't be in the main title. It's very specific. There aren't a ton of rules, but they're very specific rules. So I would highly recommend before you go and publish your sketchbook of Inktober illustrations that you read that and maybe think very carefully how you go about doing that. So a lot of people felt that he had pulled the rug out from under the illustration community, the drawing community, in trademarking something that all the creators helped put together and build and make huge by participating. And so there was a lot of discontent and anger, and people were like, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to move on to a different Inktober challenge. I'm just not going to do that one anymore. And I tended to agree. I think just with sort of the way it felt like he was gatekeeping to digital creators, and then the way small creators were served legal papers, there's enough drawing challenges that I don't need that one. I went on Inktober today on Instagram just to see, because I'm noticing some companies are now publishing their drawing list for October of monthly challenges already. Individual creators are, and some businesses are, a lot of people are. And I wanted to see what people were talking about. And that wasn't, Inktober has its own page apart from Jake Parker, and I just don't think people know anything about it. So there's a lot of new creators who've just heard about the challenge. There's a lot of new creators on Instagram. There's a lot of creators that are children, or I'm currently in talks with a woman in Spanish trying to help her with Smallest and explain drawing challenges to her because nothing is in Spanish anywhere, and she's trying to figure out if she can still participate. And I'm like, yes, absolutely, we need you, and we need representation from Mexico. 100%. Let's get this going. So the information is being missed and overlooked on a lot of people, and a lot of people just don't know. So my recommendation is, with anything, read if you can. Know as much about the history as possible. There's been other controversy things. If you're familiar, Jake Parker went to publish a drawing book for pen and ink through Chronicle Books publisher, and Alfonso Dunn, when Jake Parker did his flip through, noticed a lot of similarities between a book he had published previous on drawing and the claims of copyright infringement have come up. And so this was in August, end of August, early September of 2000, that Jake Parker was accused of plagiarism, and so his book was pulled from the publisher. And as of August 2021, it's still not out. I've seen on one page that it said it would be released in March of this year, and that didn't happen. And I've seen on another page it says it will be released in October of this year. I think the only way to know for sure would be to contact Chronicle Books and see if you can get a hold of anybody about that. I will link Alfonso Dunn's video where he shows a side-by-side comparison of his book with Jake Parker's book, and it's what a mess. I feel for Alfonso. Man. So because of that, I'm just not interested in Inktober, but I am interested in a monthly drawing challenge in the month of October because it's such a long month. It's 31 days. It hits right in the year where there's tons of like availability for me. So I'm going to link some other web pages where they talk about different ones. Like there's Drawloween, Drawtober, Cattober, Goretober, Monstertober, Pinktober. There's Blacktober. Oh gosh. If you want to see inclusion in the art community, follow the hashtag Blacktober, and that is wonderful. You will see African American illustrators and creators doing the most beautiful things. I love that hashtag. I follow it on Twitter and my Instagram. It's just so lovely. I love the inclusion. I'm so here for that. So you are more than welcome to make your own mind up about anything you want. My thoughts on Inktober is just, I'm just not interested. It just sort of took the joy out of all of it. Digital art is art. Digital creators are artists. We need their art. You know what I want to see?